Are you ready for us to just go at it? Ready? Hiya, my name's Tom. I'm the modern work product lead here at Aspire, and I'm joined today with Dan.
Hi, I'm Dan Fratterigo. I'm the head of solutions at Aspire.
And today we're going to be talking around all things Microsoft Modern Workplace. I think we should first start by talking around, utilising the best out of things like the Microsoft services like Intune, your device management there, whether that be things like Android, iOS, and obviously your laptop and endpoint devices like that. Also things like your security and compliance. So, utilising your best sort of services from a sensitivity label perspective. Things like, your anti-spam, your anti-malware, things like that, and really sort of getting the best out of your Microsoft suite that you've got in today's age.
Yeah, and I think the term it's kind of focused around what you as a company can do to help your
Yeah.
workforce, be more productive and operate in a modern way.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think it's that access from anywhere, isn't it? When you're really thinking about what a modern workplace is in 2024, as corny as it might sound, jumping into a coffee shop and logging on and knowing you've got your OneDrive there at arm's length and you can collaborate with people, on a document real time, getting people working to the most productive using the tools that are within either a Microsoft suite or things that complement it as well. What we have seen, not in all cases, but we have seen the sort of understanding between where an end user thinks the business is in their modern workplace journey to where an IT manager or an IT team think they are can sometimes be quite a gargantuan gap, essentially.
Absolutely.
And I feel like, communication is key throughout that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, if you deploy these products and services, you're not necessarily creating a modern workplace.
No.
You're just...
No. If you're just using Intune for device management, for example.
You're just putting some tech out there.
Yeah.
To really create a modern workplace, it's about engaging with your staff and driving the adoption, like we said previously. But, if you don't understand necessarily what your employees' challenges are, trying to find a way to resolve them, you might not be hitting the mark.
Yeah.
So again, from an Intune point of view, that's an excellent tool for administration. It can provide some of those modern benefits to allow people to self-serve applications.
Yeah.
But if everything else kind of isn't mixed in, then that it's not necessarily going to be a modern workplace.
Yeah.
And it's not just Microsoft products. You also need to consider your other applications that you've got, and is there anything there that's holding you back? Do you have any applications that don't function in a cloud-first way?
Yeah.
Even like when we're speaking to customers, what you might find is you'll speak to kind of the IT manager or the IT stakeholders, and they've probably a better understanding of IT and how cloud applications work. Mm-hmm. You try and push that into the general kind of population of your staff.
Yeah.
Again, it comes with challenges. Those staff aren't necessarily as ready to go into the web and start looking in the SharePoint library and start managing the files that way. They're not necessarily used to looking into OneDrive potentially. No. Although OneDrive is probably the easiest way to get people into that kind of adoption, is looking at doing OneDrive first, getting them used to using the OneDrive sync app rather than having a home drive mapped as an example. Yeah. But getting that kind of SharePoint piece and trying to get people into there is the biggest challenge, I think, that we see across organisations. Ones where they've had the S drive map for 20 years.
Not necessarily operating a different way, but it's definitely a change from sort of how they've worked for however long.
It's a change in the way that you find the files. Once you're there with the files, how you interact with them is very similar. You can just open them up quickly. You can open them up onto your desktop app. Yeah. It's just that kind of getting there. Yeah. And that is a big challenge, and that's where the adoption piece really comes into its own.
Yeah. I think you've sort of hit on a good point there as well. strictly around things like adoption.
Yeah.
Both from I suppose from our side, from an MSP, to ensure that we have everything, ready to support the modern workplace from an adoption perspective, as well as, from a customer perspective, ensuring they've got the tools, but also the understanding to use them to the best of their ability. I think still to this day, some people are surprised you can share and sort of edit documents in live time, and that's almost like a jaw-dropping moment for somebody.
Yes.
And it's once again, going back to that previous point that I said, you can deliver all the tools in the world and claim they can do X, Y, and Z, but if you don't give people the correct adoption around that, not to say it'll fall on its face, but you're not really working at optimum efficiency there as well, are you? And it needs to be maintained throughout the course of I suppose, from the minute you move to that modern workplace, and even before that, you need that constant sort of almost refresh of adoption, so people know, and it's forever changing. We can speak on behalf of this, the amount of conversations we've had every single week where something's changed from a modern workplace or Microsoft perspective.
Yeah, and then looking at what tools you can provide people with, so they can find the information themselves, but very much kind of working with partners to try and drive that adoption across the organisation as well, because it's very new for those staff that have just joined. So trying to help them pick it up, trying to help them adopt it, trying to help them use it to its fullest.
Yeah,
because if you don't drive adoption, it's going to fail, isn't it?
Exactly that. I know I can speak firsthand, specifically from going to a few different customer sites. That often the things which maybe I don't day-to-day see as a major benefit from Microsoft Modern Workplace is what the customers see. If we're talking IT managers, for example, that sort of almost seamless enrollment of devices with things like autopilot, to where you can get a device delivered to Janice in HR, for example, and ready to sign in, go. You've got your software installed, everything's done from a group-based sort of membership perspective and things like that. And also from an IT manager's perspective, that control on that as well. We know who's coming and going. We can restrict access, and things don't get out of hand that side as well. Yeah, it's peace of mind, isn't it, as well, from a company's perspective, to know that everybody always talks about standardization and things like that, but especially the uniformity between getting a device set up, ready. Everything's group-based, to where, say, going back to Janice in accounts, for example, so she knows what access she needs. She already has that access available.
Yeah.
And it makes the whole process seamless, to where it's essentially logging into that device, providing everything set up and working correctly, within, half an hour to an hour, everything's there enrolled and you're ready to go, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess going to the start of that user's journey on there, that creates a very good impression of that company.
Yeah.
And drives engagement from that point of view as well, buys them into that company's ethos. So it's not just a tool to enable your workers and make them more productive, but
it's
also
a happy workforce,
exactly,
isn't it? In that
keep
sense,
them happy and more engaged, and people aren't having to log tickets to install applications. If they can work together well with each other, then it drives more productivity, makes them happier, allows them to feel like more of a team. It's a kind of win-win from both sides, really.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think I was speaking with a customer. I was sitting on a call a couple of weeks ago, and they in my opinion told me what I imagine would be a dream for a first starter inside of a modern workplace. So they mentioned that somebody had started that had a laptop that signed in, autopilot enrolled, and 8 hours later the IT director sort of went, "Are you all right? Is everything okay?" She went, "Yeah, everything's fine. I've logged in. I've had everything I've got needed. Your email profile's already there. Bookmarks to everything I need to get on with my HR introductory things, and bookmarks for everything I need to do day to day is already there." And he was taken back by it, at the fact that set up and go, and everything's there. There's none of that logging tickets back and forth and speaking to support because they're missing X bit of software or Y bit of software because it was missing on sort of device build. And it really is that is the dream at the end of the day, that we can get people to that standard, essentially. And now seems like a good time to plug 2 modern work-based events that Aspire are hosting this year. One's on the 13th of June at the Hilton Glasgow. and the second one is on the 27th of June, and that's at the Hilton Gateshead. Both events will have keynote speakers from Microsoft and many more vendors and speakers there, talking around all things modern work, automation, security as well, which fits inside of that. So yeah, by all means, reach out to any sort of account managers you have, or reach out to ourselves, and we'll be happy to talk more about that.